Hi, good day. I'm gonna share and discuss about the cell theory. So first, let us know the cell. Cell is the smallest unit that can live on its own and that makes up all living organisms and the tissues of the body. A cell is defined as the smallest basic unit of life that is responsible for all of life processes. Cells are the structural, functional, and biological units of all living beings. A cell can replicate itself independently, hence they are known as the building blocks of life. There are two main types of cells. It is prokaryotic and eukaryotic. So first is the prokaryotic. Prokaryotic cell is any organism that lacks a distinct nucleus in other organelles due to the absence of internal membranes. And next is eukaryotic cell. Is any cell or organism that possesses a clearly defined nucleus. The eukaryotic cell has a nuclear membrane that surrounds the nucleus in which the well-defined chromosomes are located. So what is cell theory? Theory in biology that include one or both of the statements that the cell is the fundamental structural and functional unit of living matter, and that the organism is composed of autonomous cells with its properties being the sum of those of its cells. The three tenets to the cell theory are as described below. Number one, all living organisms are composed of one or more cells. Number two, the cell is the basic unit of structure and organization in organisms. Number three, cells arise from pre-existing cell. So first is the all living organisms are composed of one or more cells, means all living organisms are made up of one or more cells, which are considered the fundamental units of life. Even unicellular organisms are complex. Inside each cell, atoms make up molecules, which make up cell organelles and structures. In multicellular organisms, similar cells form tissues. Number two, the cell is the basic unit of structure and organization in organisms. This means that cells form the parts or an organisms and carry out all of the organism's processes or functions. Number three, cells arise from pre-existing cells. All living cells arise from pre-existing cells by divisions. The cell is the fundamental unit of structure and function in all living organisms. The activity of organisms depends on the total activity of independent cells. There are four major scientists who discovered the cell theory, and they are Robert Hooke, Matthias Schleiden, Theodor Schwann, and Rudolf Virchow. The first is Robert Hooke, 1635 to 1703. The first person to see a cell under microscope. He is the first to describe the unit of life to be called a cell. He is an English scientist, published Micrographia in 1665. Robert Hooke actually saw was the dead cell walls of plant cells, or cork, as it appeared under the microscope. Next, Matthias Schleiden, a German botanist, concluded that all plant tissues are composed of cells and that an embryonic plant arose from a single cell. He also declared that the cell is the basic building block of all plant matter. Next, Theodor Schwann. He theorized that animals develop from cells that divide into new cells. Therefore, all animals are built from dividing cells just like plants. Lastly is Rodolphe Virchow. He published his now famous aphorism, omnis cellula is cellula, means every cell stems from another cell. He also observed under the microscope cell dividing. He reasoned that all cells come from other pre-existing cells by cell division.